Hi everyone, welcome back to the Storytime family. How's everyone going today? Are you keeping warm or keeping cool? Well, I'm certainly keeping cool today. It's so bright and sunny and beautiful outside. I hope you got to play in the playground with your friends today, or at least learn lots of new things at school. Well, it looks like you're ready to sit down and read a book with us. Today we have a book called A Very Wide River by Asa Childress. Let's check it out. A Very Wide River. A young girl named Amelia lived in a lovely little house with a beautiful green garden by a very wide river. Every day, Amelia would skip down to the end of her garden to give her big, strong apple tree a drink from the river. But that's not what made her so happy. A friendly crocodile, Liam, would often swim by to say hello. But that's not what made her so happy. What made her happiest of all was seeing the children across the river, playing and singing. She was so happy that they were so happy. Yet the children were from poorer families and didn't have much to eat. As time went by, Amelia began to think of how hungry the children must be. She would often look over the river in silence and wonder how she could help. What could she do? One day, she had an idea. She looked at her big, strong apple tree and thought she could share her apples with the children. Little Amelia picked the biggest red apple from her tree and threw it as far as she could. But the river was far too wide to throw any apples across. Just then, Liam, the friendly crocodile, swam by with his son, Ray. Snap! Ray munched Amelia's apple in one quick bite. At that moment, Amelia had a wonderful idea. She decided she would ask the crocodiles to help her carry her apples across the river on their backs. Liam couldn't wait to help, and Amelia ran to collect her best apples. The friendly crocodile would work all through the night, delivering as many apples as he could to the children. The next morning, Amelia returned to find that all her apples had gone. She noticed Liam swimming across the river with 3 apples on his back. But Ray wasn't in the water at all. Suddenly she heard a crunch and saw a seed fly across the garden. It was Ray eating her final apple. Little Amelia was so sad. The apples were for the children, she cried. How could you eat them? And ran back home. What have you done now? Liam shouted from the river. But Ray was too busy to hear anything. Instead, he took a huge bite out of Amelia's tree and snap, creak, bang! Her tree fell flat. Many days went by, and Amelia was nowhere to be seen. Yet after what seemed like a very long time, Amelia returned to the river. Liam and Ray were so happy to see her. As she walked toward the water, she looked up. The tree, her big, strong apple tree, was gone. Yet that's not what surprised her the most. Instead, there were new baby apple trees beginning to grow. Yet that's not what surprised her the most. What surprised her the most of all was that the children from across the river were now in Amelia's garden, playing happily and picking fruits from all the trees. Amelia smiled, the biggest smile she has ever smiled. But how could this be, she wondered. Her eyes turned to Ray. Where did all of these trees come from? She asked. Ray picked a bright red apple, took a great big bite, and pulled out a tiny, shiny seed. Amelia laughed with amazement. All along, Ray had only eaten her apples in order to collect the seeds inside them. With the seeds, he was able to plant many more trees for all the children to enjoy. Amelia had one final question on her mind. "But where's my tree?" she asked. Ray pointed toward the very wide river and chuckled. "It's a big, strong bridge." Because Ray had been so thoughtful, it wasn't long before there were new trees everywhere. And soon they would grow big and strong like Amelia's tree. Amelia eventually helped the children to sell the apples at a local market. The real success came from selling their very own freshly squeezed apple juice. That was Ray's idea. They were able to raise enough money to support the families across the river, all from one big, strong apple tree. Bridge. So that was in no way the end. And that was A Very Wide River. If you'd like to own a copy of this book, the links to purchase it are in our description below. We'll appreciate a like and do subscribe if you haven't, and click on the bell for more stories. Thank you so much for dropping by. We look forward to see you back here soon. You take care of yourself and your family, and read lots of books on your own. Bye-bye.